Hello, welcome back to the channel. This is God Money, where we talk about business, investments, God, and God money. Today's gonna be a little bit different. We have my beautiful wife here, Kelsie Sussi. She's actually gonna be the one doing the interview, and I'll be the one answering questions that she has come up with. So, Kelsie, you've got a couple things you wanted to ask, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm excited for this. I'm gonna try to not just get distracted by how beautiful you are and actually try to answer your questions. She knows a lot of my story already, so I'm also gonna be trying to portray it in a way that she doesn't know everything about me, okay? Okay, perfect.
Yes, I might just learn something new too. But today's gonna be a great opportunity for everybody to just get to hear more about your story and learn more about you, where you came from. So let's dive in with that, just talking a little bit about how you grew up, how you were raised, where you're from, just what your foundation has been in life.
Well, I guess in the beginning, I was born in Louisiana, moved a whole bunch of times. I think I counted 16 before I even got to college. We lived in Oklahoma, started in Louisiana, went to Idaho, Oregon, Oklahoma, Brazil, Washington, back and forth between Idaho and Washington quite a bit, just because where my mom was born, outside of Clarkston, Washington. Yeah, had I thought was a pretty normal lifestyle. Looking back, it wasn't at all. I mean, we were moving all the time. I loved the way we grew up. I didn't realize how broke we were growing up. But we never lacked food, we never lacked shelter, we never lacked love by any means. Money always determined what we got or didn't get to do.
Yeah.
So early on I love the way I was raised, because we were raised, my parents split when I was 9, and then mom remarried a couple different times. Dad never did, but brothers and I were always like very, very close. I'm one of 4 boys. I'm the oldest of 4. We were all very, very close. Just buddies, really. And we always shared a room. We always shared the biggest room in the house. So there's a lot of nights, like late nights, just like playing like brother stuff. And like I remember having like walnut wars at night, because we would go out back and pick walnuts and
Trouble.
Yeah, a bunch of trouble, but always good, clean fun, right?
Yeah.
Mom always did her absolute best. We lived with my grandparents for a little bit with my mother, and it was just it was a very character building upbringing, and I can so appreciate that now looking back. Even though there was times where I was like, why can't we do this, or why can't I do that, why can't I have the dirt bike, and just there's certain like material things that didn't really matter, but at the time of my age, it mattered so much. It was like the world, right? Because I had all my buddies that had these things and stuff, but no, like I never once went a day without feeling like I wasn't loved. So, but moving around a lot, being forced to make new friends, right? Like it got to the point where my brothers and I were really close, and we would play like little games where we would switch up roommates. Right? So when we finally got a house big enough where we could not each have our own room, but at least split rooms, yeah, we'd like just rotate every other month or whatever it was, and we'd have like themed rooms, right? Sometimes it was like a hunting room, and sometimes it was like dirt bikes and stuff, whatever.
And what did your parents do growing up?
So mom was stay-at-home mom, what I remember when my parents were together, and then when she wasn't, she had to go out and fight for the family and earn income, right? That's when we were living with my grandparents, so everybody just kind of took turns. It really took a village to raise us. Like they just kind of took turns kind of watching us. We'd go to school, of course, and all that stuff, and the Valley Boys and Girls Club was a piece of like where we'd go and stuff. But my dad was a serial entrepreneur. I mean, he's done so many different things, from network marketing to English schools to soccer academies to selling. I mean, just so many different things. And so like growing up, I never had that example of you pick one thing and you stick with it, and that's where you retire and you get the gold watch, and like I never had that example.
Yeah.
Which was normal to me, right? So, but just kind of being in that environment, and I I never really knew what I wanted to be when I grew up. I just knew one day I wanted to be rich. That's literally all I thought about when I was little, because money was such a determining factor of everyday life for us at the time, right?
Yeah. So in that sense, did you always want to be an entrepreneur?
I think in a weird way, I did, without knowing what the word even was.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember when I was in grade school, going back to the walnut tree, my brothers and I, we'd bag up walnuts and put them in Ziploc baggies, and we'd go around the neighborhood selling walnuts. I remember mowing neighbors' lawns, and I'll never forget, I was probably like in 3rd grade. I mowed the neighbor's lawn. She paid me, she was probably a college student at the time, college age. She paid me $10 to mow their lawn, and they told me, oh, what are you gonna do with the money? And I remember literally looking right at her and saying, I'm gonna invest it. Not having a clue what that meant or what I was really gonna do with it, but I just remember like that was my instant, like that's what I was gonna do, was invest it.
Who taught you that? Where'd you learn that?
I don't know. When I was like 6 years old, my dad, I said, was in network marketing, and I remember going to network marketing meetings when I was 6 years old. And I remember literally after the meeting going up, and there would be like other kids there, and I would ask if I could draw on the big old paper flipper thing that they had.
Wasn't a whiteboard?
It wasn't a whiteboard, no, it was paper, and I would go up and draw like the triangles, like the pyramid circles, right? And I don't know, like from a very early age, one thing my mom and my dad, I think, did a really, really good job with us boys was they taught us to be gentlemen and how important that is, but they also taught us to shake people's hands and look people in the eye. And so I didn't grow up with stranger danger. I really didn't. I grew up with everybody can be your friend. And that kind of thing has really, I mean, now it's a different world, but back then it really was like we were just always being in front of people, new people, and always introducing us to new people and everything.
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
Awesome. So that was kind of your upbringing. Let's talk a little bit about some of the jobs that you had once you got a little bit older. You talked about mowing lawns, but even beyond that, what kind of jobs have you had? What kind of jobs did you purposefully pursue? And just how all of that kind of came to be for where you're at now.
Yeah, so a couple jobs. I think my first job really was on the construction crew, because my stepdad, he owned a building company, More Quality Designs. He was a designer and a builder of homes. And so I was in high school, outside of like when you could actually work, right? Like legally work. Because when I was younger, I was selling walnuts, I was drawing pictures and selling those door to door.
Sure. You weren't filing taxes yet.
Weren't filing taxes, underneath the table, yes. But it was basically being the low man on the totem pole on the construction site. So cleanup crew, that kind of thing. And then I was a marine technician in high school, which is a very fancy word for dock boy. I was working in McCall at Shore Lodge, and I literally got paid to put hours on. I got paid to break in boats and jet skis and clean people's boats and that kind of thing.
Not a bad gig.
Not a bad gig at all, no. After that, I fought fire a couple years. Went to school, went and played football at University of Idaho. I went to school to do sports and for people, right? Like I love the friend thing, I love the sports thing, but school's so boring to me.
What made you choose the major you did in school then? Just because you had to pick one?
Well, again, it was like business, right? And so at the university at the time, there was two ways you could get a business degree. It was you go to the business school, it was like the Albertson School of Business or something like that, which was, from what I heard, very tough, very difficult. Didn't go to that one. Or you could go through the JAM program, which was a journalism degree, but it counted as a business degree. And so I was going after the easy way, which was, my major, I guess, was advertising and marketing with a minor in Spanish.
Great.
Yeah, I didn't do very good in all of it. Yeah, muy bien. Yeah, no bueno. But going back to the jobs I had, I went to fighting fire. I quit school for the first time to keep fighting fire because it was the first time I started making real money.
Okay. And
when
what was real money then?
So real money to me was I went on a fire and I made $5,300
for
2 weeks.
Okay.
For 2 weeks, literally risking my life.
Worth it.
It felt worth it, right? I was like, man, this is great. Like I'm gonna do this forever. And we were on one fire really that year, so we didn't make much after that one fire.
Okay.
But then I came home and I started because I quit school, I started my own recycling business. Again, I saw a need, and
the name.
it was Green Goose Recycling. And my tagline I came up with was hatching a greener generation, which is pretty good for a college dropout. That was all me. But no, it was a very simple idea. Curbside recycling. We didn't do anything other than we would provide the can that people would buy from us up front. And we would literally, it was streamlined. So we would go through and like shuffle through the can into our truck at the time, which we were borrowing a trailer. We were using my old truck, borrowed a trailer. And then we'd go take it to the recycling place. Like that could have been so much better. That whole business could have been better with processes, but
maybe we'll revisit it one day.
Yeah, I mean, they
so
still
you did
have
that. What was next? Was that when you started waiting tables?
I did wait tables over at Chipola's. So I was in McCall. I was waiting tables at Chipola's, but then I went back to school because I wanted to learn about business. So this is my second time going back to school. And I had my brother.
A little more interested in the school side this time.
Yeah.
And when did that last?
It lasted for a year and a half. Yeah, so it lasted for a year and a half. I had my brother running the business back home, which just fizzled out. And I don't blame any of them. Like, we had no business. We had no business doing business because we didn't have a business. We had an idea. So then I went back to school, being real serious about school, and then I got into a network marketing company. And that is when I started it took me back when I was younger, going back to those meetings when I was 6 years old, seeing wealthy people around me, or at least the appearance of wealthy people around me.
Right.
And just the excitement and the attitude and the positivity, like I just loved it. And I just started, that's when I got my first mentor. And Tom Wagner was my first mentor, which is crazy because he helped my dad 17 years earlier.
Yeah.
And he was the guy who literally said, I will help you build a business, but you need to be teachable and coachable. And you need to read Rich Dad Poor Dad. That was the first assignment he gave me. And I wasn't a good reader. I like reading now, but at the time I didn't read a book unless I actually had to. And if there was a movie on it, then I would try to stumble through it. So I read Rich Dad Poor Dad, and again, it just started like opening up my eyes to what rich people teach their kids versus what poor people teach their kids.
Yeah.
And poor people isn't what we think of when we hear poor. It literally was people who place more benefit to education, more weight on education versus trying to figure out what the money game actually is. And it's not just education. So.
And do you think the key thing with education there is putting the standards of your success in someone else's hands versus going out and figuring it out yourself?
Yeah.
So with education, like you're relying on a teacher, or you're relying on a source like that versus doing it yourself. Do you think that's a determining factor?
I think it's part of it, right? Like I think going like someone like me who did just enough to get by through school. Like I got promoted every year.
Sure.
Because I did just enough to get by.
Yeah.
In school. And so I think that is the downfall of education, traditional education, of where if you're average, if you do just enough, if you're okay,
yeah, you keep going.
You go to the next level. Yeah. Where in reality, like, I don't know, like part of it, I just showed up most of the time and I would ask a couple questions and I got to go to the next level, right? And I think a lot of times people can carry that same mentality into real world.
Yeah.
And that's where people start getting entitlement, and they think just because they have a degree, now they're entitled to X amount of dollars a year or whatever. Right. But really, it's like, well, now, yeah, great job, you finished school, and that was an accomplishment.
But
that's all that was. It was an accomplishment. Now it's real world. Now it's time to get to working.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you had that network marketing. Next job.
Yeah. So network marketing. This is the last time I quit school. So going back to network marketing, I made, I think it was like $4,800 or something, maybe $5,000 1 month. And I was like, I just out-earned the professor. Like I literally had one professor, and we were like Googled like how much was the average professor make. I was like, I out-earned this person. And so I was like, okay, this person's trying to teach me how to make money. I just made more money than they did because I'm doing the side gig and going to school. I'm done with school. Like, what else am I gonna learn here? So that's when I made the final decision to quit school and pursue network marketing. And the thing about network marketing is it's amazing if you work it, but if you don't work it, you find out real quick how there's no income. Yeah. So I struggled for, I'm probably like 22, 23 at the time now.
Okay.
When I quit school for the last time, I moved to Boise with my best friend, Landon. We were both doing that network marketing company at the time. And I was literally not even living paycheck to paycheck because there was no paycheck to live off of. I owed everybody money. For 2000, I think it was 2013 or 2012, I made $12,500 for the entire year.
Wow.
Not good. I mean, in America, not good, right?
No, definitely below any average.
Below any average. Below anybody just has a normal job.
And that's not you saying you made $12,500, but you were still having any other supplementation from your parents. From the time you were 18, you graduated high school, that was it, right? So
good point. Yeah. So I literally, and I no knock on my parents. Like that's what our babies are gonna get. Like they get the boot at 18. You gotta figure it out, right? But financially, again, going back to like money wasn't always abundant and around, and so I was off the tee. So I was on my own, 18 years old, insurance, everything. So I didn't have, and that's one thing that looking back, I love that I didn't have the safety net of calling mom and dad for money. Yes, throughout my life, they helped whenever they could.
Sure.
100% they helped. But it wasn't a bailout that I could just go to anytime I wanted to.
Yeah, you weren't taking this time to experiment with different jobs, knowing all of your main expenses were handled.
Correct.
You were going through trial and error with these things because you knew you had to support yourself.
Yeah.
And there was that balance of following your dream, right? But also having the responsibilities of having to pay bills and later on having to deal with what happened when you didn't pay those bills. So
100%. Yeah. So I think it goes back to like dreams don't work unless you do.
Yeah.
Right. And I was a dreamer. That's literally all I was when I was younger, was just a dreamer. And I remember my dad looking at Ferraris and getting these $7 magazines. I was like, why is this so expensive? And it literally was just like jets and yachts and stuff just in this catalog for sale. Not just to look at, but for sale. Meaning somebody out there in the world could buy this stuff.
Yeah.
And so in my mind, I always had it, one day I can figure it out how to get there. But going back to when I was a waiter, right after I made $12,500 and owing everybody money with a 407 credit score, I was like, man, Goose, you gotta figure this out. So I remember, because in the network marketing community, it's like, if you're not winning in it, and then you go get a side job, then it's almost looked down upon.
Yeah.
They have a lot of like sayings of like, job just over broke, right? And like, so stuff like that, and again, no knock, like I get it. It's a culture and you're trying to help as many people as possible reach your goals. For me, it was such a pride thing of like, I told everybody this was going to work. I've signed up so many people this is going to work, and now I'm the one that can't make it work. Looking back, I wasn't working it like I should have been. I wasn't working at the job.
Yeah.
So I went and got a job at Tucano's, actually, bussing tables and being a waiter. It really hurt my pride to go be a waiter because I was supposed to be this network marketing guy, right?
It felt a little bit backwards.
It totally did. And that's what, like, God works in such amazing ways where you think you had a set back. He was really getting me a set up, right? So I literally was bussing tables, became a waiter. This was like 2.5 months. And I'm not even kidding, babe, you know this, but like my knees killed me. Like I was 23 years old at the time and I had the worst shoes because I couldn't afford shoes. I was literally, my soul would flap when I was walking because I just couldn't afford shoes. I couldn't call anybody to buy me a pair of shoes. I owed everybody money. And so I just started busting tables. I'm now making like $3,000 a month. When you go from 0 a month to $3,000 a month, you feel like Pablo. I mean, it felt good, like me making some money. And it was all cash, it's all tips, right? So I got these like the U-Bin coffee can just like full of cash, trying to slowly pay off everybody I owe. And I waited on a table, and the gentleman's name was Chuck. And I guess I impressed him with the way I was communicating with him and just servicing him. Yeah. And he was the general manager at the time of an RV spot. And he offered me a job. And I was like, I don't know anything about RVs, but I didn't know anything about bussing tables either. So I guess I'll go try it. Sure. So I go do that. And that right there was when I started taking full responsibility of my situation. I had a 401 credit score because I earned it. I had $0 because I earned that. Yeah. I had all these things going not for me because of my decisions and my choices. Yeah. And so I do remember, to go back a little bit, I remember having $4 to my name before I started bussing tables. And that's, I'm gonna cry a little bit. That's when I started to truly understand that everything I have going on right now, or don't have going on, it's my fault. It's not my mom's fault, it's not my dad's fault, it's not God's fault, it's not my teacher's fault, it's nobody's fault but mine. I made the choices to put me in that position. The powerful thing about that is you can make the choices to undo those situations. Yeah,
and you're not even talking about like any crazy decisions, like you had a gambling problem, and you know, like there's nothing crazy like that. You're just saying you were average, but you weren't where you wanted to be, and you made that mental shift and that choice to accept responsibility, and that's when there was this big change in your life.
Yeah, 100%. So at the time I was keeping a journal, and literally on one side I wrote down everything I was grateful for that I had in that moment. And that's the only reason I knew I had $4, because I wrote down, I'm so grateful I have $4 whole. And on the other side, I wrote down everything I was grateful that was to come, which was like helping 100,000 people get financially well. All these different schools I started, all these different projects I've done, all these different things that I had, right? Yeah. Like the jet that I had, and the cars that I had, and all these things, and the beautiful wife I had, like all these things that weren't real at the time. But in my mind, I knew one day
it was gonna happen.
I bust tables, I start selling RVs, know nothing about selling RVs. I go through their training program, I become the #1 salesman there, just because of just treating people the way I was taught when I was little. Treat people the way you want to be treated. Service people well, smile, make friends. Like all the little things that I learned when I was younger are now being shoved into this opportunity. Yeah. And I was paid 100% commission. We got a guarantee, I think, for 3 months of $2,000 a month, which again, I was making $3,000 bussing tables. A normal thinking person that has security first in mind wouldn't take a $1,000 pickup when you don't have any money to cut out. Right? So
percentage-wise, that's a huge pay cut. Not even just $1,000 a month.
That's a third gone.
Exactly.
It's a third gone. So start selling RVs, and that first year selling RVs, I make $50 short of $50,000. So for round numbers, don't call me a liar. I'm just gonna say I made $50,000. Okay. So that first year I made $50,000. And what was so crazy is like, my happiness didn't change. Like, I've always been a pretty happy guy. I'm trying to do teary-eyed here. But like basic needs, I just couldn't afford. Like I would sneak into Axiom, the gym, at midnight to lift because I couldn't afford a pass. But I made friends with the guy at the corner or the counter, and he never checked my pass. So I would wait till midnight to go work out just so I could work out because I couldn't afford to. So that first year I make $50,000. I can afford basic necessities. I'm now starting to tithe. I found our church, and I start tithing. I start going to church again, and I just start to take full responsibility of what's going on in my life. Yeah. And after that first year, I then make a few dollars short of $75,000. And then that next year, I make just a little bit shy of 90 grand by August. And by that point, I met the love of my life. We got married. You weren't working at the time because you were still in school.
Right.
From there, I then got another opportunity as
Yeah.
far as talking about jobs again.
Yeah.
I got another opportunity because I sold a gentleman, Mr. Don Reeves, I sold him an RV, and when I was doing his credit application, I saw that he made $1 million $1 million a year. And I was like, made a joke and said, oh, we have special programs for people like you that can't get financing. And I just felt this instant connection. I just felt like God saying he's got something for you. And so I just made friends with him. And a few days later, he calls me offering me a job.
One thing, if I can say about that, because I didn't know you when you got the job at Brett's to sell RVs, but we're married. I knew you obviously when you got this next job.
Yeah.
And you felt that God was telling you that he had something for you, but you didn't just dismiss it because you came home that day, and I remember you telling me about it. And saying, I don't know what it is. I think you maybe had his number because you always would give your number. So you guys had each other's numbers, and I don't remember if it was that night or the next day, but as soon as you saw that Don was calling you, you jumped up to answer it.
Yeah.
Because you knew God said something to you,
Right.
and you paid attention to it, and you gave it the value that it needed, right? That it required,
Right.
and it did turn into something. He did have a job offer for you.
Yeah, he did, and it was crazy because even that situation, like I could see, and it wasn't that I didn't like selling RVs.
Yeah.
Like, I really liked it.
Yeah.
It was pretty easy for me. It was a great lifestyle. It was a great living. When you start throwing kids in the mix, you work like 6 days a week, so it's a little tougher as far as like raising a family goes. But the money was there. And then when he offered me that job, it was a guarantee of 70 grand plus commission. And again, this puts me in a position where I'm going to get ready to take another pay cut.
Yeah.
I have 90 grand made by August, and now I'm going to say okay to 70,000 for the year. But I did it because I saw the opportunity to grow, right? Another opportunity to grow, get a better situation for our family and everything, and a little bit easier schedule. Like now it's only weekdays, and I'm off at 5.
Yeah.
And it's that traditional 9 to 5 now, right?
Yeah, and I think we were at a point where we weren't thinking about kids just yet,
Right.
but we were starting to think about that balance in money making and lifestyle.
Yeah.
Building the lifestyle that we wanted for when we had kids, because it was always very important to you that you were going to be at all the kids' sporting events, at their school events, things like that.
Yeah.
And so we saw an opportunity for multiple things. Yes, overall higher income potential, but also more of a lifestyle change for what we wanted for our family, because that was very important. It is very important to us as well.
Yeah, exactly. So that job then takes us, start doing well at that job. Again, didn't know anything about RVs. This is an HVAC job, selling HVAC systems commercially. Didn't know anything about HVAC. I mean, I'm literally working with engineers that are way smarter than I am.
Yeah.
I don't know what they do
About some things, not everything.
Well, that's true. Everybody's got what they got and don't what they don't. But so then we go to California. I get a job promotion. I get a job promotion to move to California and work in the Bay Area. And now my guarantee is 125 grand plus bonuses.
Yeah.
And what's crazy is when I was 22, 23, I made $12,500 for the year.
Yeah.
And now, what is that, 5 years later, 4 years later, something like that?
Probably, yeah.
I'm now making 125. That's 10x, that's 10 times. And I know this the whole time is because I was obedient enough. I wasn't perfect, but I was obedient in the process, and we were tithing on a regular basis, and we were open, right? We weren't so closed and so worried about money and holding on to it and hoarding it. And we started our financial plan, which was we gave 10 and we started stocking away 20%. And we lived off 70. And that's what we've done from day one. Now the percentages are different, right? I think we're living off 45% now and saving the 50%.
I don't remember exactly, but we're living off around 40% of our income.
Yeah, so we're now living off 40% of our income, giving 10%, and throwing that rest of it into the saving to invest account.
Right. So took you to California, and then how did you get the job you have now?
Oh yeah, so then go to California, and by the way, this whole time we have real estate in mind, right? Like our first home was a duplex.
We can talk about that. But as far as jobs, the next job was where we're at job-wise now. Along the way, we did start buying real estate as soon as we got married. So you were selling HVAC, and then we wanted to move back to Idaho because we found out we were pregnant and didn't want to raise our family in our apartment in California.
Right.
So you had a connection back here.
Yeah, my old landlord, it was one of the apartments that I was renting when we first met. We wanted to buy his apartment complex, which was a 7-unit apartment complex, and just called him up randomly one day. Ended up being his birthday on that day. It was a day in August. I don't remember what day it was. But we lived in California. I was literally doing my walk at lunch around the building, and called him up, said, "Hey Craig, this is Goose. Hope you're well. We'd like to buy your complex on Cole. What do you want for it?" And he went in detail of like, "Oh, it's not for sale. It's my birthday day, yada, yada, yada. It's part of the retirement plan. But I might have a business for sale." And I was like, "Okay, great." Send the numbers, knowing we weren't gonna buy a business because we lived in California and I couldn't make sense of buying a business living in California, and we wanted this real estate.
Right.
He calls back a couple hours later, sends us over the numbers, and it's like, medical supply company. We're looking at the P&L and profit and loss sheet. I don't know anything about braces, but I can read numbers. And at the bottom of the list, there's a positive number there. So you and I start talking, well, maybe this could be a real thing. And so we literally bought our next job, which was the business we now own today. We own a few different businesses today, but that one was the one that got us truly in that entrepreneurial mode, and it makes us look at everything totally different today.
Right, and that's what got us back to Idaho, where we did have 3 properties at the time. So when we first got married, I'm very glad now that you pushed for this, but at the time, I just wanted to be married. I didn't know why you were in such a hurry to start buying real estate and invest in these things and do all of this stuff. But we bought our first duplex 4 months after we got married, I think, something like that. Moved into it, remodeled it, and then at that point I was over living with a carport to park under, and sound so ungrateful. I wasn't, but I wanted a house, right? Like we were married, I wanted a house to make a home for us. And so 6 months after we bought that, we bought our house. Do you want to talk a little bit about that real estate journey, what we started with, how that progressed?
Yeah, I mean, I think it sounds a lot sexier when you're saying we bought 3 properties, we own 3 properties when we live in California. Like, what people I think don't realize is you need to be able to like see what it actually takes to buy real estate. And real estate for us is that super mode wealth building vehicle. I started following a guy by the name of Grant Cardone. Look into him if you don't know who that is, but I saw him go from $250 million worth of apartments to over $2 billion worth of apartments. It's just the real estate thing. You go out and you make as much money as you absolutely can. You tithe on what you make. You take what you need to live off of, and you push the rest of it into real estate, and you go broke. You act like you don't even have it anymore. Today, we actually closed on another duplex today. And all we did was same thing we've been doing is We keep our living expenses as low as possible. We have a business, so we get to write off a lot of things. We have very nice vehicles that we get to write off, and they're huge blessings, and other things that go along with that we get to legally write off to avoid paying taxes.
Yeah.
And any extra money we have, we don't put it in the Goose and Kel lifestyle account.
Vacation fund.
Yeah, like we have been on a true vacation since our honeymoon. It's kind of sad and depressing to say.
6 years ago.
Yeah, almost 6 years ago. But and then we take that extra money and we put it towards, because there's a plan.
Yeah.
We have a plan to do with excess money. We know what we're doing with it, and it's not spending it. It's saving to invest it.
And that, I think, is the investment mentality, that you are making sacrifices today for what you know is going to come of it tomorrow, down the road, however long that plan is. But that's why we don't say, oh, we haven't been on a vacation to complain about it. We're really fine with it because we're sticking to the plan. We know what we're doing, and real estate has been that plan.
Yeah, it really has. So that first duplex we bought, this was like in 15.
Yeah.
In 15, we put $6,000 down. It was a 3.5% down. It was an FHA loan.
Yeah.
So we were able to buy this 2 buildings, 2 properties with 1 down payment of $6,000.
Yeah.
We had $6,000, put it down, lived in one side. We were able to write a letter, because it was our primary residence. We were able to write a letter and be able to buy another property. And so we did. We then bought a home, which, looking back, I wish we would have bought another 4plex or all the homes, because Boise absolutely took off. And after we did that move, that's when we kind of took a break for a second with the real estate thing. We kept saving and everything and kept our expenses low and kept doing that, but we weren't aggressively looking at buying more properties.
Yeah, we were in California and focused on jobs at that point, really.
Yeah, it's so funny. We literally had a cute little home in Idaho. Yeah. The payment was $1,200. We're living in California at the time. Our rent was $2,500 for a 2-bedroom, 1-bath apartment. Yeah. We got to meet some really cool people and everything. It was a really fun experience, and it was great for our relationship and everything. But looking back, it's just amazing how much more it takes to be there versus being here, and with taxes and everything. It's just, anyways.
Some more fun questions, if you will. What are you afraid of?
Besides you dying before me? What I'm really honestly afraid of, besides like snakes and like that kind of thing, is settling. And truly being aware enough of when I'm being patient and when I'm settling.
Getting too comfortable.
That's one thing that, like, I don't want to die and then have a conversation with God, and God looks at me and goes, look at all these things you never asked for.
Yeah.
Look at this life I had for you. You just didn't even bother to ask.
Yeah.
You got so comfortable and good that you just thought, oh, it's great.
Yeah.
That's probably what I'm most afraid of. And not to the point where it's like got me cautious throughout the day or anything, but it's something that I'm aware of, and I'm constantly trying to make sure that, like, I hope I'm using everything I got.
Yeah. And I think that's really good, because that's having more of a kingdom mindset than a life mindset. You could get all the things on earth and be very comfortable in that, but that's not the end goal. The end goal is to use everything that you've been given.
Right.
So, awesome. Okay. And then next question, what would your exit number be? At what number, what dollar amount would you, or based on that question, would you even be done?
There's numbers that sound good, where you're making $100,000 a month or even $1 million a month, or like numbers sound good, but I have certain goals. We have certain goals and targets, but there's honestly not a number that just makes me pack up the bags and say, all right, we're done.
Yeah, because it's really not about the number.
It's not. It's literally trying to be as effective as possible, right?
Yeah.
And using exactly everything you've got. Like, my mom told me this, and she doesn't even remember telling me this, but she told me, when you don't use your talents and your gifts, it's like spitting in God's face. And like that visual was like burned into my brain. Like
Yeah.
I can't not see. So when I don't want to be uncomfortable, or when I only want to stay in my comfort zone, it's like, if I don't do this, how many people are missing out?
Yeah.
Because it's not about me anymore.
Right.
Like I'm married. I've got babies now. We've got babies now.
Yeah.
And so if daddy doesn't do something,
Yeah.
what's Ella and Royal missing out on because daddy decided he was done, right? Or same thing with you, like in our life, where are we at if I decide we're good?
Mm-hmm.
Because by normal standards, on paper, we're done.
Right.
But it's not about that number. It just goes back to just using everything that we've been given and being good stewards and making sure that you're helping people and showing people how to do what you've done and kind of blaze that trail and connect with people along the way and just building that community, and again going back to that kingdom mindset and not just this worldly, earthly mindset.
Yeah.
But I don't know, that's
that.
So.
Well, last question, because it is the God Money Show. What is your God Money story?
The short version, because I feel like I could talk hours about that. The short version is I had $4 to my name doing it my way. And the second I started doing it God's way, my life changed.
Yeah.
I found the woman of my dreams. I've had more money than I've ever had before in my life. Ideas and opportunities just keep coming every day.
Yeah.
Like, that's the thing that people don't realize is like, tithing was such a huge part of my story and our story that people don't realize. Like, I used to think I can't afford to tithe, that I don't even have money to pay my bills. I was the guy that literally, I was a month and a half behind on my cell phone bill for like a year. And I remember it's gonna be next Tuesday when they call and shut my phone off and I gotta go through this whole thing again. I remember leaving $2 on my debit card because at the time, it would only charge you $1 and then you could fill your tank up. You're gonna get a, what is that thing called? You're gonna get an overdraw charge, but I didn't care because I didn't have any money anyways.
Yeah.
But literally, tithing was the cheat code. Tithing was like the key that opened up so many stinking
it's the accelerate button.
It was the accelerate button. I mean, from $4 to we now have 5 properties, 4 different businesses. I don't know. Like, that's one of my God money stories.
Yeah, and it's so much more than I think we imagined at this point, right? Like, it's awesome to just be a part of it and see where it's gone, but also know it's really just starting. There's so much more to come.
There is, and that again goes back to just being a good steward and to not settling. And the thing that just keeps blowing my mind is how much still keeps, like, you keep blessing. Like, God, you just keep blessing. And like, I heard Bishop Jake say it, and he's like, God knows, this is him talking, he goes, God knows I'm a good return. I'm a good investment. God knows he gets a return on his money when he invests in me, when he blesses me.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of the mentality and the mindset is like, it goes back to, I don't want anything he doesn't have for us, but I want everything he has for us.
Yeah.
And again, it's not because of stuff and everything. And don't get me wrong, I want the Lamborghini still. and what's so crazy, right, is it's something I've thought about since I was a little kid.
Yeah.
The Lamborghini, the jets. And what's interesting is my things that I want haven't changed, but the reasoning for them have changed dramatically. The jet used to be, I can't wait to just go anywhere I want. Now the jet is, I can't wait so that anybody can go wherever they want.
Yeah.
If somebody needs to go somewhere and they need something really quick,
we have that tool.
Take the bird. Take the bird, right? And like the Lamborghini thing, like how many kids will never even see one? I remember the first time I saw a Lamborghini, I was like, it's a lot smaller than I thought it was. Like, it's like a Porsche, it's so small.
Yeah.
But it became real at that point. So I don't know, it's just, I love this channel. I love what we're doing. I love the fact that you even wanted to do this. Thank you for that. It was a fun little gift to me even. But I hope you guys got something out of this. Did you have anything else you wanted to add?
That's it.
That was it.
Great job.
She did a great job. Please like and comment below. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe. We do appreciate all the love, and more than anything, above the likes, above the subscribing, truly hope and pray that you got something out of this and that it will help you get closer to your goals, your targets, so that you can have the life that you want and that you deserve. Love you guys. Thank you so much. Have a great day.